welcome to another session of Wednesday Live. I am Tara, and you are watching Courageously Living. And we do these lives every Wednesday night at 7 p.m., and they are kind of a little bit of this and a little bit of that. I usually have a couple topics to go through, and then I kind of open it up to questions, and let's see where we go. I really want to check in with all of you, though, today. Excuse me, because I know there's so much going on a global scale, pretty much in every country, in every possible governments and violence, and just a lot of stuff going on. And that's not even to include anything going on in personal lives. So I wanted to check in with yous. Welcome. How are yous? And how are you doing? There is a lot of emotions going on right now. And I want you to know it's okay to feel whatever emotions you are going through. One of my cards that I did a while ago when I was doing some physical product, I absolutely love this kitty card. But it's okay to feel sad, angry, and hurt all at the same time. We sometimes feel like we can't be angry and sad at the same time, or hurt and sad. We have to kind of pick one, and we don't. We can choose different ones. Welcome in. And with everything going on, it is going to be a lot of different emotions, and you're going to be feeling different things. Things are going to be bubbling up for you. So it's okay. And you know what? Then you also might have moments of joy too, even during all of this chaos that's happening. Hello. Welcome in. Where are you guys all from? Nice to see everyone coming in. And one of the things that I really want everyone to know is, even in the midst of chaos, we can still have moments of joy, have moments of happiness. So welcome in. Hello. And when you do have those moments of happiness, it's okay to have them and to not feel guilty, even with everything going on in the world, with all of the upheaval and everything. There's this weird myth that if other things are going bad in the world, we can't be happy. We have to kind of match that energy. And I want to say, no, we can acknowledge there is a lot going on, you guys, and there's probably a lot going on in your personal lives too. And that's okay to acknowledge both things that are really hard and really kind of awful to go through, either at a personal level or at like a global collective level or a community level. And it's also okay to acknowledge some fun and some lightheartedness. In addition to doing this, I also choose to work at a garden center. So I was going there this morning, and it's a nice, beautiful day in Minnesota here. And literally on my way to work, I saw an old red convertible with a guy dressed as Santa Claus, smoking a cigar, going down the road. And that made me laugh. And it actually made me laugh all the way to where I was going. And it's just remembering, it's those moments of just randomness that you're allowed to have during the day. You don't, even with everything going on, and I've got a lot going on in my personal life too, but it was just such a random sight to see this Santa Claus driving down in a red old convertible, chomping on a cigar. And that's what makes life better, even when we have those moments of grief and anger and frustration and a lot of exhaustion. People in a lot of different comments on my channel, on other channels, people are also feeling so exhausted. And I know I've been exhausted as well. It kind of comes in peaks and waves. I've actually been following Consciously Erin, so a shout out to her. She's actually tracking a bunch of different things, but one of the things she's tracking is the Schumann resonance, and on when we are getting kind of like peaks and valleys of energy coming in. And so that also kind of is correlating to some degree on when we're feeling kind of really exhausted and when we're feeling that we've got, some energy to move. But this time we are in right now, everyone, is a time that was predicted to be chaos, to have structures collapsing that we might have relied on. And what I've been noticing is, yes, we definitely have governments collapsing worldwide. We definitely have an increase of violence going on worldwide. But the other thing is, as I've talked to other people, as I've kind of worked with clients, there's a lot going on in people's personal lives too. So we are kind of at this point getting it from all sides, and that really also feeds to our exhaustion, because we're going through so much emotional stuff right now. And that's another reason where people don't feel like they can smile, they can have those little moments of joy, because of all the upheaval in our lives and in the collective. And basically through the end of the year, we're gonna have more and more moments of chaos and structure breaking down and things that we thought we believed, and changing our belief system, because new things are going to come up. It's going to challenge the way that we think. And it can be really, really unsettling. And one of the ways to help us move through this time is to find those moments of happiness, of joy, of watching that butterfly, of taking that little bit of time to be in nature, or watching a calming nature video if you don't want to be out in nature or can't be out in nature. All of those things help, because what happens is we kind of have like a well of energy, and the more and more negative stuff that comes in, it drains us and drains us and drains us until we don't. It takes so much time to kind of like get our well refilled, that it is those small moments that we allow ourselves throughout the day, or even, every couple of days, to smile at, to engage with. Because everything that is crumbling and breaking down, there are people that really would like everyone to stay in fear, to stay in anger. And I'm not saying those aren't valid emotions. They are 100% valid emotions. But when you get stuck in those emotions, when you stay in those emotions, it's really, really hard to look for new solutions, to look for ways out of a current situation. And then that kind of just feeds into structures and belief systems that may not be aligned with us anymore. Maybe they were aligned with us at one time, or maybe they were never aligned with us, but it was kind of like the collective. This is what everybody's doing. This is what everybody's feeling. So this is what you should be feeling too. And this is a time when we do have all this chaos happening, to say, okay, we know what it was. Do we really, really want to go back to exactly what it was? Or do we want to take this opportunity and create something new, something better? Now, in a lot of times in chaos, you also don't feel like you have the energy to create anything new. And totally understandable. And you have to, especially now, you have to listen to your body. You have to listen to your emotions. And if you're feeling sad and angry and hurt, you're probably not going to be able to create anything. But if you actually allow yourself to feel these emotions, you actually can move through them better and faster, so you can actually get to another kind of emotion where you can start to say, what if I kind of change how I'm looking at this situation in my life? What if I change the way I look at my job situation right now? And you might feel trapped in a relationship, in a job, in just kind of the way the chaos is going in the world. And one of the ways to help you kind of change your mindset on that is, what if I choose to look at this situation from a different perspective? What if I choose to look at this job as what I have right now, and I'm going to start putting my resume together? What if I choose to look at this relationship saying, I'm going to reevaluate what is important to me in a relationship? Are boundaries respected? Are you respecting your own boundaries? We oftentimes put everybody else first instead of saying what we are requiring for ourselves to, again, kind of start to refill that well. And so start to kind of think about that kind of things. Like, what can you, even if you have to go to that job that you don't like, even by you saying, I choose to go to this job today, it changes the way you think about it versus I have to go to this job today. And it's giving your mind a different way to think about things. So that's one of the things that I really teach with intention, is changing kind of your mindset, allowing yourself to have a different path, to think of things a little differently. And where we are now with everything kind of crumbling and changing systems, we want to be able to rethink of things in a different way. Moments of joy. My pup is decided to bring a squeak toy in. Because again, it's moments of joy. And she's saying hello. So there is the pup right there. She likes to say hi on our lives a lot of times. And animals are great at kind of helping us change our energy a little bit by playing with a squeak toy, by getting us to laugh, by getting us to smile, even if it's a silly squirrel doing something. Where are you choosing to find moments in joy? In June, I do a lot of intentions, obviously, and I write them down. And so one of the intentions I wrote in June for kind of this summer into the fall was, I promise myself that I would find moments of joy and happiness no matter what was going on in my life, including any sorrow or grief that I was dealing with. And that has been such a beneficial piece for me to keep kind of going back to and finding those pieces of joy, finding those pieces and moments of happiness, of having, playing with the dog a little bit, going out, being in nature, allowing all of that stuff to refill my well, even when I was still going through a lot of hard things. So as we keep going through this, and we're going into a Virgo solar eclipse on the 21st, is bringing up a lot of energy and a lot of emotions. Virgo can be very, very self-critical, but Virgo is also a healer. So where are you showing up for yourself? Where are you putting up some boundaries for yourself? And maybe a boundary is you're going to go to bed 5 minutes earlier. Maybe a boundary for you is after dinner, you're going to not doom scroll for 20 minutes. And you've set a timer and you're going to do something different than doom scrolling. Because the more that you keep scrolling through all the news headlines, it's going to change your kind of emotional state into, oh my gosh, this is wrong, did you see this, did you see that? Now, again, I'm not saying to totally be, ignorant of what's going on. There's way too much stuff going on in the world to kind of not have at least a slight pulse of what's going on. But if you set a limit, maybe you set 5 minutes to read headlines, also knowing that headlines are literally set up for you to invoke emotion. Usually headlines are set up to invoke fear or anger. So as you're looking at kind of what's going on in the news and, in your community and our global community, just know that even if you're scanning just headlines, that they truly are set up to invoke emotions from you. So when you look at headlines, just kind of go, oh, okay, so this is happening. Can I read this and just kind of read it as plain as you can do without getting triggered by that emotion? Because if you can do that, and that takes practice, I've been doing that for a while now, is just glancing at the headlines, knowing that they're trying to evoke emotions. You can always read the article or listen to the podcast or listen to the YouTube video on what's happening. But sometimes I've also found it helpful if I am really kind of interested in the headline of the news of what's happening, is I will read some of the comments so that I'm not listening to all of the news of the doom and gloom. Because it's again, the old system is set up to invoke emotions from you. So when you can just read kind of straight news and not have emotions kind of bubble up, and it's hard right now because there is so much going on, it's a little easier to just kind of get a pulse of what's kind of happening in the world. One of the things that I also do is I read news from other countries about the US because it has a different flavor to it. So you might want to also think about doing something like that as well. And the other thing I wanted to mention with the Virgo solar eclipse that's happening on the 21st is it's also about setting intentions for the next 6 months. How do you want to react to things? Maybe you want to have a moment of peace during the day. Maybe you want to find that moment of joy or happiness. What emotions do you want to be more prevalent in your life? That's what you want to start to try to cultivate, because otherwise, if you don't cultivate them, other emotions will be shoved at you. And most of those emotions being shoved at you are going to be that anger, are going to be that fear, because that's easier to control a population if you are already in a state of anger or a state of fear, because then your fear is directed at something or your anger is directed at something. When in reality, there is bad things going on, and How do you feel? Instead of someone else telling you how you should be feeling on something specific, how do you feel? So that is what I really wanted to talk about tonight. Any questions or anything about intentions that you want to talk about? And then we'll pull some cards if we don't have any questions. Got an itchy nose. I always love the old saying that when you have an itchy nose, someone is thinking about you. So I definitely like that one. So any questions before we kind of pull a card? And I'm only going to pull a couple cards just for the next couple of days, intentions, because everything is changing and shifting so fast. I know I said that the new moon is about going out for 6 months, but maybe you can't go out for 6 months. It just feels too chaotic to go out 6 months. So then pick an intention for the day or for the hour. You don't have to pick an intention for 6 months, but maybe one of your intentions is that you want to feel respected for the next 6 months. Maybe that's something that you're willing to say, yeah, in this whole next 6 months, I want to feel and be respected from yourself and from others. Make sure you're saying that you respect yourself too, if that's one of your intentions. All right, so we got 3 cards. This is from the Wisdom of Trees Oracle. I really felt like kind of a nature cards were going to be a little bit more helpful today. And so we have a card that is speaking to us of transition. We are in a period of time of transition. So the more that you can acknowledge to yourself that things are changing, that you're changing, that your relationship structures are changing, that your job structure might be changing, that our community structure is changing, our world structure is certainly changing. The more you can be willing to acknowledge that for yourself is going to make this time a little bit easier. So this, I know I said these are for the next couple of days, but seeing we are going into that Virgo new moon with a solar eclipse, I would say this is a perfect card to think about for your intention for the next 6 months or so. What if I welcome in transitions in my life? What if I welcome in and embrace transitions in my life? Now, some of those may not always be positive in the moment or, what we consider positive, but what if it is for your highest and best good? All of my intentions that I set are for my highest and best good. So what if I welcome in and embrace transitions these next 6 months that are for my highest and best good? That's a great intention to set with this new moon. And we have magic. One of my other intentions that I set every morning is I welcome in beneficial surprises, miracles, and magic into my day for my highest and best good. And like today just happened to be that random Santa driving down in the red convertible. That was a surprise that I was definitely not expecting, but it made me laugh. So sometimes your intentions are truly about kind of having that more engaging piece with life and having those fun moments. So there's that intention that you can do. And this card, has been, not from this deck, but from another deck, has been coming up so much. Nourishment. Where are you allowing yourself to be nurtured, having nourishment come into you? And maybe it's from what you're eating, but a lot of this right now is your emotional nourishment, your spiritual nourishment, and maybe even your physical nourishment. You know, taking a moment and actually putting lotion on your hands and watching it absorb is a great way to kind of bring yourself back into your physical body and back into the present moment. But so what if if you're having trouble with setting intentions, you can always say, what if? Put it into a question form. So what if I allow myself to have nourishment this next week, these next 6 months? What if I allow myself to receive nourishment for my highest and best good? What does that look like for you then? What does it look like if you allow yourself to be nourished? So again, that intention would be something like, especially if you're having trouble thinking that you can receive it, you could say, what if I allow myself to receive nourishment for these next 6 months? Emotional nourishment, spiritual nourishment. That is what I've got for you. And physical nourishment, which then leads me to how I always end videos, always end lives. And it is, make sure you give yourself a self-hug. Self-hug. And I will catch you on the next live. Thank you so much for being here. And I will see you in the next video or the next live. Bye for now. Oh, and if you do want to book a private session with me, I do have some availability. If you just go to my website, there is a link below to do actually a private session to help you set your own intentions kind of for what you're going through and really kind of working on changing your mindset into a different way to look at what is going on in your life. All right, I will catch you on the next video. Bye for now.